Good morning. Welcome everybody to Kolel B'Ahavat Israel. Be'ezat Hashem, today Tuesday, Pa'amayim Kitov. It's Be'ezat Hashem, 21 of Adar, Aleph. So today, Be'ezat Hashem, Parashat HaShavua, YAKHEL, Partners in Torah Foundation. Again, we want to dedicate this class in honor of Mr. and Mrs. Selwyn Eisico for Partners in Torah Foundation. Baruch Hashem, we reach about 1,600 cities around the world every week. We want to also say thank you to Mishpachat Zmir, this class in honor of their daughter's memorial, Lulou, רותם, Bat Moshe ושימחה, זכרן צדיק לברכה. We also want to say רפואה שלמה to my dear sister, הצדקת רויטל בת רחל, אינה רפנלה, צחי חי בן גאולה, גלית, אורי אור בן ענת, ברוך חי בן חיה מרים, זהבית בת טובה, בת שבע בת עזיזה, ענת בת זיזל, יצחק בן אלה, פנחס בן רחל, קרן בת עליזה, and to all חולי עמך ישראל. So בעזרת השם, may they all have הצלחה and רפואה שלמה, and to בעזרת השם, days of Mashiach as we are approaching, we see Baruch Hashem, everything that's happening around us. This is the gathering, Parashat YAKHEL. Just so we understand also, Parashat YAKHEL is the parashat that happened after Chet HaEgel, after the golden calf sin. The dates of Parashat YAKHEL is literally the 11th, Yud Aleph Bet Tishrei, the year 2449, the second year of the people of Israel in the desert. As we know, because of the golden calf sin, now there is a need to build a Mishkan. Because, originally, the tabernacle, the Mishkan, was not really needed amongst the people of Israel. Because when Hashem spoke the 10 Commandments, as we know, the first two Hashem spoke and Moshe spoke the 8th, and the first two, Hashem basically did Techiyat HaMeitim twice, one to remove all the Tumah from their 49 gates of Tumah that they were in Egypt for 210 years, and then thereafter to raise them again in order to sustain the Torah for eternity. So they really, Hashem says, Kedoshim tiyu v'shachanti betocham, inside of you. But now that the people of Israel and the Erev Rav did the golden calf sin, Hashem says we need a Mishkan, dira batachtonim, as the Gemara said. So the parasha is on the Yud Aleph Betishrei. Moshe Rabbeinu, after being 120 days in Mount Sinai, as we remember, he went up on the 17th of, he came down first on the first 40 days, forgive me, from the 7th of Sivan until the 17th of Tammuz. He came back, 17th of Tammuz, he broke the Luchot, that was the golden calf sin. This is 90 days after coming out of Egypt. Then on the Yudchet, Pesol Lecha Shene Luchot Avanim, make yourself another set of Luchot, and then come to Mount Sinai again. That was on the 18th of Tammuz, and then he went there until the 29th of Av, and that's the 40 days, the second set. And of course, then he came down and went up again on Aleph Be'elul until Yom HaKippurim, 40 days. That's why we say, by the way, the Sephardim do Tekiyat Shofar, the blowing of the shofar for 40 days, from Aleph Be'elul until Yom HaKippurim. That's what they did in the desert. Every day they blew the shofar. Moshe Rabbeinu come down back on Shabbat, the 10th of Tishrei, year 2449. As I mentioned before, רפואה שלמה to רויטל בת רחל, יחד עם כל חולי עמך ישראל, בעזרת השם. And we see this importance now, Moshe gathering the people of Israel on Yud Aleph Betishrei, and he basically said to them the following. So, Vayakel Moshe et kol adat bnei Israel. The Zohar Kadosh says Moshe Rabbeinu separated the Erev Rav from the people of Israel. Because, the Erev Rav is really the people that he basically gathered the gold in order to make the golden calf, and they actually have the entire people of Israel participate in this, even though Moshe Rabbeinu says to Hashem, forgive them, they just came out of Egypt, it's only 90 days, so to speak. Moshe Rabbeinu convinced Hashem, Hashem says to him, Salachti ki devarecha, and we know that after all said and done, now Moshe is taking this opportunity to gather the people of Israel to help build the Mishkan, to make the donation necessary And we see that the last 4 parashot from Teruma through Tetzaveh, through Kitisa, and this parasha, YAKHEL, is about 2 major things, the Mishkan and the Shabbat. So, of course, the Hashem says, Kol Adat Bnei Israel, Kol in Gematria is 50, alluding basically to the 12 tribes only. Because, if you take the 12 tribes, 12 Shvatim Yishmayim, Bashemot Shelahem, 50 otiyot. If you take the 12 tribes, there is in their names, Reuven, Shimon, and etc., and so on and so forth, exactly 50 letters. Hashem says to Moshe, take only them, not the Erev Rav. Remove the Erev Rav. Look what they've done, what they caused to the people of Israel to do. And I want you, it says only Adat Bnei Israel, only the people of Israel. We know Israel is Yaakov Avinu. His wives were basically, we use Kippat Barzel, right? Barzel in the code for it, the acronym is Bilha, Rachel, Zilpa, Leah. Our 4 mothers, Yaakov wives, there were actually 2 sets of twins. Lavan's daughter, we said before, as we know, Leah and Rachel were twins, and Bilha and Zilpa were twins, just different mothers. So hence, all the people of Israel, the 11 tribes, were born in the house of Lavan. Lavan was the Saba, the grandfather of Israel. That's why he merited to live over 500 years. But in a sense, Hashem says only the Bnei Israel. As we mentioned, why Israel? Israel is the only name that has all the 4 mothers and fathers in it. Israel is Yitzchak Yaakov, Samech Sarah, Resh Rivka Rachel, Aleph Avraham, and then Leah. So you have the names of the people of Israel. It says, Vayomer Aleim, Ele hadevarim asher tziva Adonai. These are the devarim, is come from the word dibur. Because Hashem spoke, they say when he spoke the 10 Commandments, the Zohar Kadosh says that actually Hashem spoke all the 10 Commandments, and then Moshe came and explained them because every time Hashem spoke, they were dying and coming back, dying and coming back. They asked Moshe, please, you speak to us. That's why he says, Naaseh v'nishma. Naaseh is the 2 commandments that Hashem spoke. The first commandment, the first, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, and the second commandment, Lo Hiyeh Lecha, I am your God, and you should not have other God. And golden calf, they did exactly the opposite. So Naaseh, because Moshe explains and will do as well. And of course, he says, Ele hadevarim, by the way, the 10 Commandments has 620 letters in it, alluding to the 613 mitzvot, alluding to the 613 mitzvot of the Oraita from the Torah and the 7 from Rabbanan. I see that we have a little bit of problems with our Facebook feed, but please, I also posted our YouTube channel feed, so you're welcome to switch to that. If you have any problems, you can watch both. It's on Facebook, and please share the class with everybody. So we see here that the gathering, really, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is now giving a chance to the people of Israel to do a tshuva on Chet HaEgel, on the golden calf. So it says, the first thing that Hashem brings is not the Mishkan. You would think this is the building of the tabernacle, of the Mishkan, but of course, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, no. Before that, I want you to remember something. Most important thing is Shabbat. Shabbat. There's nothing more important than Shabbat. Shabbat is the essence of all success. Kihi mekora bracha. Shabbat bring health, bring wealth, bring nachat, bring menucha, bring honor to Hashem. The Zohar Kadosh says, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Moshe, Sheshet Yamim Ta'aseh Melacha V'yom Hashvi'i Lachem Kodesh Shabbat Shabbaton, it's also, he says, in a sense, a person has 6 times a chance to do Gilgulim as a person. Shesh Shanim is 6 Gilgulim, reincarnation as a person. You can be reincarnated in many other options. Chai, Tzomeach, Domem, Medaber. Those are 4 levels. But if you really, truly succeed in one Gilgul, if you do a Gilgul one time and you keep Shabbat and you keep the Torah, you don't have to come back here anymore. The Arizal HaKadosh says something amazing. Says, if you want to know how many times you came to this world, look at your hand that you don't write with, Yad HaKe'ah, and see how many circles do you have. Each circle is a Gilgul. See, I have 2.5. I'm in my 3rd one. So Be'ezat Hashem, that will be the final Gilgul. It says then, Shabbat, Kodesh Kodashim, Shabbat, Shabbaton Gan Eden, which is all Shabbat. And Be'ezat Hashem, we were all married. So now the Torah mentioned the Shabbat. It says, L'Adonai, Shabbat is for Hashem. Kol ha'oseh bo melacha yumat, chaz v'chalila. Whoever doesn't keep Shabbat. Hashem, in His mercy, give us chances again and again and again. Hashem noten lanu הרבה הזדמנויות לחזור בתשובה. כל יום, every day, Hashem says, כי תישא את ראש. You know, what's כי תישא? כי כל יום, תישא את ראש. Rosh is really the heads of the person, right? But it's also the highest level of mitzvah of the Torah is the Shabbat. Because if you look at the word Rosh, the letters that come after Resh, Aleph, Shin is the letters of Shabbat. Elevate the Shabbat. You have a chance every day to do something for Shabbat. And when it comes to Shabbat, nothing is more important than Shabbat. So as we mentioned now, this parasha speak on the Mishkan, but the Shabbat comes first. Why? Because Hashem says, listen, the people of Israel is going to get excited now. You know, they sinned. I'm starting to forgive them. אני הולך לסלוח להם, סלחתי כדבריך. That was said on Yom Kippur, by the way. That's why we say that on Yom Kippur. And then they'll be so excited to build the Mishkan, they might desecrate the Shabbat, building a holy vessel for Hashem. Dira batachtonim, a home Mishkan, the tabernacle is a place where Hashem can reside. As we mentioned before, we were inside. V'shachanti betocham, in you. You didn't have to have a Mishkan. But now because of the golden calf, this came to atone for the golden calf. So Hashem says, make sure they don't work on Shabbat. You know, there's 39 melachot. There's 39 avot melachot, which is the major 39 transgressions that we're not allowed to do on Shabbat. Those 39 came because of the sin of Adam, Chava, the snake, and the earth. You know, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu built the world 5,872 years ago, on the 9th hour of Friday evening, Adam and Chava and the snake and the earth sinned. Meaning that, you know, just the Zohar Kadosh says that the Nachash, you know, the snake, was actually able to convince Chava, and he put Zohamat HaNachash in her. And, you know, he put the venom of Satan in her, and she actually gave birth to Cain and his sister. Cain is really the son of the Nachash. And then she slept with Adam, and she had Hevel and 2 sisters, 5 kids altogether. It says that the gathering of this 39 melachot is many melachot to atone for this desecration of Shabbat. The first Shabbat in the world that Adam should have kept correctly, it has to be thrown out of heaven. Chaz v'chalila. And we see here that the gathering of the people, it's really this whole parasha, basically starts on the 11th of Tishrei, and it finishes on the 25th of Kislev, on Hanukkah. So the Yud Aleph, Moshe gathers everybody, and he says to them, listen, Hashem is forgiving you partially for the golden calf. And here's what I need you to do. He needs you to remember, you're going to work on the Mishkan, on the tabernacle, but keep Shabbat. You're not allowed to do any melachot. You're not allowed to do any melachot of Shabbat, even though it's a holy thing. On the Yud Bet and Yud Gimel, which is the 12th and the 13th of Tishrei, the people of Israel donated everything that they needed to donate. You know, there were 13 items the people of Israel donated. 2 came from the heavens, Avnei HaShoam and Avnei HaMiluim, the stone of the breastplates. And of course, on the 14th, Yud Dalet, this is Erev Sukkot. Moshe says to the people of Israel, enough, we don't need any more. I wish we had this problem in the Kollel. We don't need any more. Moshe says, enough, you gave enough, because they were so enamored with tshuva that they gave. The women gave first, and we'll get to it in a minute, holy women, Baruch Hashem. And the beginning of the building of the Mishkan was literally within Sukkot. Because, you know, Sukkot, like every holiday, falls on the 15th of every month, except Hanukkah. 2 Tedvav is really when the moon is full. You know, the Levana is like the woman. She have her light from her husband. You know, they say that, of course, the first sin in the world was the sin of the Levana. The Levana said, we cannot have 2 kings on Wednesday. when Hashem created the world. And Hashem says, you know what, you're right. She actually complained of the creation. When I say she, it's really her angel, the malach. Every creation has an angel. And Hashem reduced the Levana to a very small sliver, like we see every Rosh Chodesh. And of course, the Levana made tshuva, so Hashem let her rise on the 15th to be full, right? And then from the 15th to the 29th, it goes down. It says something amazing. It said the Zohar Kadosh, that, you know, the Levana, the moon, and the sun used to be the same size. You know, the sun is 13 million times more big than the moon. The Zohar Kadosh says that when Hashem made her small, he took all the Levana and really made her small. How? He made her small, and all the pieces that he took away is the stars that we see in the sky. The Kochavim, they light up just like the moon, right? It said that the Zohar Kadosh, she did tshuva. And for that tshuva, whatever in the world, you know, in the galaxies, many people did not understand that. And the Zohar explained that the moon and the galaxies and the earth and all the 9 stars that we have in our Milky Way, they go and turn around the sun. And the sun turn around, you know, like this. And for the entire 365 days, the sun always sees the moon in the fullest form, never sees the moon small. Because of the tshuva, Hashem did not want to chaz v'chalila insult the moon. So it says that the Mishkan, that's when the Shekhinah came back on Sukkot. That's why we sit in the Sukkot. The Sukkah is like a big Shekhinah from all the sides. We have the clouds of glory. Ananei Shekhinah came down back after the golden calf scene on Sukkot. And that's why they start building the Mishkan. The Mishkan took 70 days to build. In those 70 days, basically from the 26th of Tishrei all the way to the 25th of Kislev, which is Hanukkah, that's when the menorah was ready, everything was done. Those called 70 days against the 70 nation, against the 70 Sanhedrin, because you know, when the Erev Rav came to do the golden calf, they killed Hur and the 70 Sanhedrin. Hur was the son of Miriam and Kalev ben Yefuneh. He had a son named Uri, and he had a grandson named Betzalel, which we'll see in a minute the connection. So we say here that really, in a sense, the clouds of glory came back to the people of Israel. And Hashem says, remember, this is the Shabbat. Do not desecrate Shabbat. Throughout those 70 days of working, you're not allowed to do anything of the Mishkan. Even though in the Mishkan, there is works that we can do on Shabbat. Like you have korbanot on Shabbat, you have esh, shatamid, you have many things. The Gemara says, you know, everything that they can do, you cannot do. It says in the Gemara, avodot shehayu, melachot shehayu b'mishkan, those works, and avot melachot, the so-called, you know, melacha, there is avot and there is toladot. There is the parents, so to speak, and their children, you know, the subdivision of the mitzvot. For an example, it says in the Mishkan, Hem zar'u ve'atem lo tizru. They used to seed and you're not allowed to seed. Hem katzru ve'atem lo tiktzeru. They used to sow the, fields. You're not allowed to sow the fields. They used to bring the krashim from the karka to the agala. They used to bring from Rashut Yachid to Rashut Rabim, from the single ownership through public ownership. You're not allowed to do. They used to do the korbanot, the sacrifice in the Mishkan. You're not allowed to do the shechita. You're not allowed to do the fire. You're not allowed. So very, very much as even though the house of Hashem, the Mishkan, the tabernacle, do not desecrate Shabbat. That's how powerful the Shabbat. Even Hashem says in the Torah, chaz v'chalila, kol ha'oseh bo melacha yumat. And he says, you know, if anybody does work in it, yumat. Lo tevaru esh bechol moshvotechem beyom haShabbat. The Torah says, don't turn on fire on Shabbat. Why? Out of the 39, obligatory transgressions, only one Hashem says don't do on Shabbat, the fire. Lo tevaru esh bechol moshvotechem beyom haShabbat. Before we answer that, it says, the Gemara says something amazing, and our sages explain that in a sense. It says, "Kol hashomer Shabbat keilu mekayem et kol haTorah kula." Whoever keeps the Shabbat as if he kept the whole Torah. Let's say you don't do, there's 613 mitzvot in the Torah and 7 derabanan. 620 mitzvot. The word keter, 620. Shishi, Friday, which is Shabbat, right? Shishi has shai and shai, 2 gifts. You have 310. 310 is the crown. It says that when you keep Shabbat, even if you've done sins during the week, the Shabbat can atone for those. That's what the Gemara says. It says, "V'chol ha'mechalel et haShabbat ke'ilu kafar bechol haTorah kula." Whoever desecrates the Shabbat, as if like he basically says there is no God, and Hashem. Kafar b'Torah kula, to basically really denounce HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the entire Torah. It says, "Shekula Shabbat keneged kol mitzvot." The Shabbat weighs more than all the 620 mitzvot. Even though, we have to understand, it's very interesting. Our first 3 verses of the Torah, it says there's 39 words in it. If you count from, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, from YAKHEL until Beyom HaShabbat, there's 39 words. It's really against the 39 melachot of Shabbat. They say, Hashem says to Moshe, gather them, teach them those halachot, but the most important, the fire. Don't light fire on Shabbat. So many explain to that. So first and foremost, it says just the fire out of the 39 is obligated by death. Chaz v'chalila, the punishment on lighting fire is really instant by the Sanhedrin, death. You have to be put to death. Many people says, but I keep Shabbat, I do it 50%, 70%, 80%. Out of the 39 melachot, the worst one is to light fire. To light fire is like to drive in a car, to turn on your phone, to turn on your light, to push the elevator of not Shabbat and go down or up. That's the fire, because when you do that, you basically says there's no God. I don't agree with Hashem, don't know God. There's a friend of mine in Yerushalayim, very, very kadosh Rabbi, says something beautiful. He says one of his Baalei Tshuva came to him, and he says, listen, I need a bracha, please bless me. And the Rabbi says to him, do you eat pork? Do you eat chazir? The guy says to him, no, are you crazy? I'm Jewish. What do you mean eat pork? We're not allowed to eat pork. So the Rabbi says, how about you keep Shabbat? He said, it's tough, Shabbat, the family come, my kids, they want to go here, they want to go there, and we have to drive. And, I do kiddush, I do this, I do that. So the Rabbi says, I'm going to give you a bracha. He says, really? He says, yes. He said, I bless you that you can have pork every day, eat pork every day, but keep the Shabbat. Because if you keep the Shabbat, the pork could be forgiven, but not the Shabbat. The guy looked at him and says, why? He says, actually, Shabbat punishment is worse than murder. You can have billions of porks. It's nothing compared to the Shabbat. He says the Shabbat is like the pork is like a little rock. And the Shabbat, the punishment of atomic bomb, if you desecrate the Shabbat. It's the only thing that you're not allowed to do. The guy made tshuva and he kept Shabbat. And of course, he never ate pork. And he says, Lo tevaru esh bechol moshvotechem beyom HaShabbat. So the book of the Chassidut says something beautiful. It says, do not light fires, meaning disagreement, machloket, in your homes, in your shuls, your synagogues, your yeshivot, wherever you may be. Don't bring fire to the table, to your homes, to your heart, because why? You actually cause destruction for your place. It says something amazing. It says, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu says that it's considered Chilul Shabbat, and it's really amazing. It says the word Chilul comes from the word Halal, which is mean death, which is mean the punishment of death when you desecrate the Shabbat. That's why it says, Kol ha'mechalelo mot yumat. וכל השומר שבת, actually, the מחללו, it says, אשרי אנוש אשר זאת יעשה, ובן אדם יחזיק בה, שומר שבת מחללו. The Zohar Kadosh says, don't say mechalelo, whoever keeps Shabbat, machul lo, Hashem forgive him for everything else. That's why the Gemara says, if I'm not mistaken, Masechet Yevamot, Baruch Hashem, we're just starting this week, Masechet Yevamot says, if the people of Israel keep Shabbat twice, Shabbat Shabbaton, Mashiach will be revealed. You know, there's many tzaddikim, Baruch Hashem, tzaddikim nistarim in the people of Israel, that's already saw Mashiach ben Yosef and spoke to him. He's in Yerushalayim right now. We know several of them personally, Harav Kook and few others, that says, we spoke to Mashiach ben Yosef. Pray for him that he will be revealed. Keep Shabbat. Keep Shabbat. Keep Shabbat. Shabbat Shabbaton. Very interesting. The Gemara says 2 Shabbatot, but the Zohar says Shabbat Shabbaton is actually keep the Shabbat before the Shabbat, meaning Thursday night, Erev Shishi, Thursday night is the evening of Shishi, after the stars comes out, 3 stars. Fix the Shabbat table, prepare for Shabbat, get everything you need to do, starting on Thursday night. The Zohar Kadosh says when you do that, you elevate all your families in the heavens to the highest place possible for Shabbat. You know, in hell, in Gehenom, Hashem even stopped punishment for Shabbat. Shabbat, Gehenom stops. You know, Gehenom, Chaz v'Chalila, is a place where Hashem cleans the neshamot. You know, Kol Israel yesh lahem chelek le'olam haba, right? He says, Kol Israel yesh lahem chelek le'olam, not be'olam, le'olam. There's a difference within be'olam or for eternity. So the Zohar Kadosh explains, at the end, everybody will have a share in the world to come. The question is which share, and the question is how long will it take you to get there. Everybody will do tshuva at the end, whether here on earth or chaz v'chalila in hell. Everybody will do tshuva. The question is, are you ready now to do tshuva when you are a physical form? Because in the neshama goes through hell, at the end it's clean and go back to the heaven. Who knows how long? 100 years, 50 years, 1,000, we don't know. Nobody knows. Rabbi Yoshua HaLevi, which was one of the 10 people that went to the heaven alive, Rabbi Yoshua HaLevi נכנס לגן עדן, אחד מ10 צדיקים שנכנסו לגן עדן בחייהם. לפני כן הוא רצה לראות את גיהנום. Before that, he wanted to see hell. And it says to Malach HaMavet, I just want to see Gehenom before I go to heaven. Because Malach HaMavet came to kill him, and he says to him, you're not allowed. So what do you mean you're not allowed? He says, it's promised me already that I will not be dead in this lifetime, and I will go to the heaven. So you can escort me, but you cannot kill me. So he went to see hell, and he saw that on Shabbat, nobody's being punished. Thereafter, immediately, it says there is Nachal Dinur, is a Chaz v'Chalila, a river of lava and fire, and then there is ice and snow. They'll be dipped in fire, and then ice, fire, like this, and you eat sand. Crazy stuff he describes. But when he went to the heavens, Rabbi Yoshua Levi says to Malach HaMavet, can I see your sword? You know, Malach HaMavet has a magal like, and it has a drip in it at the end. It's called chelbona, that he put into people before they die, and they stink instantly, and they have to be buried. So Rabbi Yoshua Levi says to Malach HaMavet, can I see your sword, your magal? He says, yes. And he jumped into heaven and took it in with him. And Malach HaMavet has to beg Hashem to tell Rabbi Yoshua Levi to return this. And he actually did at the end. He describes to us Gan Eden, his books that he wrote, that has unbelievable things of Gan Eden. And Chaz v'Chalila also on Gehenom. So Hashem says, Lo tevaru esh bechol moshvotechem. He says, כל המשמר שבת כהלכתו, אפילו חטא כדור אנוש שעבדו עבודה זרה מוחלין לו. He said, when you keep Shabbat, you even, the generation of the Mabul, which was called Dor Enosh, that was so bad. Hashem had to restart the whole world, get rid of everybody, start with Noah and his 3 children, his wife and their wives, 8 people to start the whole world. It says, when you keep Shabbat, you can even be forgiven from that, Avodah Zarah. And of course, the Al-Sheikh HaKadosh, it says something beautiful. It says, because of Zohamat HaNachash, because of the impurity of the snake that came in the golden calf, it was really because the people of Israel, when they were talking to Hashem, when Hashem was coming to speak to them on Mount Sinai, they reached the level of Adam HaRishon before the 7th heaven opening. Sheva Arki, Merkavat HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they saw the chariot of God, they saw everything they saw became like angel, like Adam before the sin. Because of the golden calf, exactly returned to Zohamat HaNachash. He says, the Al-Sheikh, he says that's why Moshe Rabbeinu, in order to really restore the Shekhinah, they have to keep the Shabbat at the highest level. That's the really Mekor HaBracha. Rabbi Chaim El-Kabetz, HaKadosh, Shlomo El-Kabetz, he wrote Lecha Dodi. You know, Lecha Dodi is Ruach HaKodesh. It's not like just words. Everything that came from Anshe Knesset HaGdola, from the prophets, from everything from Moshe, was given to Moshe Rabbeinu on Mount Sinai. The Zohar HaKadosh says, Kol HaTorah Kula Nitna Behar Sinai. Everything was given on Sinai. All the oral Torah, the Zohar, the Kabbalah, the written Torah, the Agadot, the Midrashim, all what the Rabbanim will say all the way to Mashiach already given. What he says, Shlomo HaMelech, King Solomon says, Ma shehaya haya, ma sheyeh. Ma shehaya haya. This is Moshe. Everything was given to Moshe. Everything. And Chadash Tachat Hashemes. There's nothing below the sun that's new. Above, yes, there is many worlds of Gan Eden, many, Sheva Reki'im. There is many things. But below, which is really the sun in a sense, is the light that comes to the world after Ora Ganuz. Ora Ganuz, the concealed light, was taken after 3 days because of the chet of the Levana, of the sin of the moon. The Ora Ganuz, the concealed light, was to light the world, right? But then we had to have a lower light, which is called the sun. And of course, we know when we light the menorah in Hanukkah, we have 36 candles without the shamash. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 all the way to 8 is 36. It's against the 36 lights hours that were in the world before Wednesday. Because we have 3 days times 24, 72, 12 hours light and 12 hours darkness. The Oreganos used to light the world for exactly 36 hours. We light the menorah, we light the Chanukiah on Kaf Hei Bekislev. That's when we brought back the light, because he says, Ner Tamid. What's Ner Tamid? Ner is Nefesh and Ruach, right? We light Ner to our Neshama, we light for Shabbat, we light in the Mishkan, in the tabernacle, in the Mikdash, the temples. The Ner is basically, in a sense, was lit, as we know, on really, the menorah was ready on the Kaf Hei Bekislev, which is Hanukkah. Hanukkah is Chanu, the rested, the finish, on Kaf Hei, on the 25th. That's why Moshe Rabbeinu, he says to them, listen, you're going to build this Mishkan. You think you're building the house of Hashem. Shabbat is more important. And of course, we know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says that something amazing. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, take from them this teruma, really, if we look at Parashat YAKHEL, is really almost repetition of Parashat teruma. Give this, give that, kol asher idvenu lebo in Parashat teruma. Here it says, kol nadiv libo yevieha, et trumat Adonai. Again, zahav, kesef, nechoshet. The Torah lists 13 items from the people have to give. and 2 items from Shamayim. So the 13 item, the Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai HaKadosh from the Zohar says that actually the people of Israel sinned with 13 golden calves. There were not just one. The one was the Erev Rav. And every tribe actually did have, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, that every tribe had actually their own golden calf. 13 golden calf, the Zohar, Zahav. And he says, how did I learn that? It was revealed to him that the word, when it says, Ze Elohecha Israel, Ze in Gematria is 12, alluding to the 12th tribe. Elohecha Israel. It's not the Erev Rav, it's the God of Israel. Hence, they all have to give now 13 items against the 13 golden calf, 1 with the Erev Rav, 12 with the tribes. It says this came to atone these 13 items, which are basically the Zahav, Kesef, Nechoshet, Chelet, Vargaman, ותולעת שני, ושש עזים, ואורות אלים מאודמים, ואורות החשים ועצי שיטים, ושמן למאור, ובשמים לשמן המשחה לקטורת הסמים, 13 item, ואבני שוהם ואבני מילואים came from the clouds of glory from Hashem. So the 13, the Zohar Kadosh says, came against the 13 golden calf, and as we know, Hashesrei Aikarim, those are the 13 essence of the world, the principle of guidance, is against also the 13 Trumot that the people of Israel will bring. And of course, 13 in Gematria is Echad, all in for Hashem. As we know, Shema, Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. This first verse was said when Yaakov Avinu was about to pass away. When Yaakov gathers his 12 children around him, he said to them, are you united under one God? He knew about the cell of Yosef, he knew about everything. But he says, if you're united, Hashem will forgive you even for that. And they said to him, Shema, listen, Israel, our father, Yaakov, Hashem Eloheinu, Hashem Echad, we're united under God. You know, Shema is an acronym, Shachrit Mincha Arvit. When we unite with Hashem, we unite with Israel. And we bring the Kedusha to protect the people of Israel. When we are united under one God, guaranteed redemption. Always, it's happened to us all the time. Tamid, when there was problem for Israel, from Egypt all the way to today, when we united, Hashem brought us redemption. If it's Esther and Mordechai, they got everybody. YAKHEL Moshe. And of course, in the Holocaust, we finally realized what we've done. And we finally realized what happened. We got mixed with the Goyim, and we said enough is enough. Same thing with the Russian, same thing with the Christian Crusaders, same thing with the Spanish Inquisition, same thing with the Babylonian. When we gathered, we brought back the people of Israel and Hashem to protect us. When we leave Hashem, we give the Goyim the power to control us, like today in Israel. In Israel today, it's the government of Abbas. It's not really Israeli government. It's not even Jewish. Hashem says, go ahead, good luck. You want to support the Arabs? You don't want to support the kollels, the yeshivot, the tzvaot Hashem, that holds you, that because of them you exist. The Zohar Kadosh says, if there were no Torah for 1 second in the world will be destroyed. And he says, go ahead. You want to go against my people? You want to go against the religious people that support you? That because of them, those are tzvaot Hashem. The tefillah is what sustained the world, nothing else. Nothing else. And Hashem now, as we see, he takes Putin and he put him here and he take this, he took that. Believe me, Putin can take Ukraine in 1 second. He doesn't need to in 1 hour on Shabbat. You know what's karmiya? Karmiya is the word Hashem kara. Hashem moves all the, it says, Sarim ve'melachim beyad Hashem. everybody that whatever he thinks the power, that's not, it's the power of Hashem. He does everything. He moved this here and this and this and that. Ukraine is nothing to Russia. Russia wants to take over Europe, and of course they'll fight, with America. China will join, the Islam will join. It's really days of Mashiach, exactly what the prophet says. Hashem says, I'll give you a chance every day. It's not happening because I want you to return to me. But it will happen, if guaranteed. There's no even question. We don't understand Hashem. When Moshe Rabbeinu says, I want to see you, Hashem, in last parasha, Hashem says, Rak et achorai tir'eh. Hashem says, you will not be able to see me. You'll just see the past. Rak et ha'avar. מה שעבר אחורה כבר אתה תוכל להבין. מה שעכשיו וקדימה אתה לא יכול להבין. You cannot see me. לא יראני אדם וחי. Meaning, in a sense, you cannot see the future. You cannot understand. The only thing you could understand is what's past already, because now you've seen what happened. So look at the past, what happened, all the problems we had. Whenever we came back to Hashem, the book of Shoftim, after Yeshua brought the people of Israel at the year 2488 to the Jewish count, again, on the 15th of Nisan, like they came out of Egypt, they went to Israel. Every time the people of Israel strayed from Hashem, the nation, the Philistine and the other nation were winning and taking over. The moment they made tshuva, Hashem sent them a new shofet, a judge that can help them, a new leader. Back and forth like this. Originally, the Zohar Kadosh says there should be only 6 books. The 5 books of Moses, Israel, they have the Mishkan, they build the Mikdash. But of course, because of all the mistakes that the people of Israel left Hashem, Hashem gave us the Nevi'im, Hashem gave us the prophets, Nevi'im, Hashem gave us the Ktuvim, 24 books. It says those are the 13 items you have to bring to the Mishkan to atone for the people of Israel. It's very, very interesting. It says that when Aharon made the golden calf, he did not really make it. He gathered the gold because, he wanted to, basically, the ayah of Rav says, Boshesh. Boshesh, Moshe is late, 6 hours, probably dead. And make us a golden calf. Make us a god like this. And of course, Aharon says, Mahar. We'll do a holiday for Hashem. You said, Mahar is the word Rachem. Hashem will forgive us, Be'ezrat Hashem, for what I'm doing now. But in a sense, it says, the Torah says, Vaikach et ha'egel asher asu. He took the golden calf that they made, not he. They, the heir of Rav. And it says from that, it says, Vaikach miyadam, vayitzer eto. He said that, he took, just like Moshe Rabbeinu, went up to the mountain and then broke the luchot. He did not want to, nobody of Israel will suffer from it for eternity. There's 2 sins today that we still pay for. It says the sale of Yosef, Mechirat Yosef, and the golden calf sin. The Zohar Kadosh says, from any death that will happen in the Jewish people from then until Mashiach, he says it will be some of them up to 30%. Some say 24% in the Gemara, some say 30%, will be to atone for the sale of Yosef and the golden calf. And we learn this from Esther HaMalka. Esther said to Mordechai, what is going on here? Mizeh or mizeh? She said to him, why are we being punished? Mizeh or mizeh? What's zeh and zeh? Is the 2 sins that says, the sale of Yosef, the brother says, Hine ba'al hachalomot halazeh. But here's the dreaming, owners coming our way. They wanted to kill him. And then they sold him. And then in the golden calf it says, Ze Elohecha Israel. She says, are we paying for the sin of the golden calf or the sin of Yosef? And revealed to her Mordechai, it says it's from the golden calf. Then she said, I know how to solve it. She said, gather all the people, unite them under one God. And let's fast and let's mourn and give tzedakah. Kol mamon and tzom. Kol mamon tzom, 136 in Gematria each, together 408. Zot HaTorah. This is the way to receive back the Torah, and that's exactly what happened. Imagine Holocaust in 127 nations. You know, Haman is Amalek. He's from Agag HaAmaleki. Shaul did not kill him. He slept with one of the women's servants. She had a son. He had Haman. He's a tzedza of Amalek. What Khomeini we have today in Iran? Khomeini is Hamani, is Haman. There's another Amalek. Now you see the Gemara and the Nevi'im says that Melech Paras, which is really Khomeini now, and Melech Notzri, right, will fight. Paras, just so you know, Paras is Amalek. China is Islam. Sini, the Torah says in Parashat Noach, chapter 10, that the children of Canaan, one of them was the Sini, Chinese. This is really Anshe Kedem. And they, with Islam, they'll fight America, right? The whole Christian world versus the Islam. And then they all come to fight with the people of Israel. Why? Because we don't keep Shabbat. You know, Bibi Netanyahu, which, you know, make no mistake, he was a failure for Israel. Bibi allowed the desecration of Shabbat a few years back. You know, until a few years ago, there was no public transportation on Shabbat in Tel Aviv or anywhere. For 40 some years, there was nothing. And he allowed that. That moment, that's it. This government will fail. The Rabbanim told him, יותר מאשר אתה שומר את השבת, השבת שומרת עליך. And that's why he lost. And of course, if you remember horrifically, the first Shabbat that they wanted to drive in Tel Aviv, Hashem brought such mabul, which never seen in Tel Aviv. Rain came, and the poor two kids that died in the elevator, right? שני זוג שמתו בתביעה במעלית בתל אביב. זה היה באותו שבת ראשונה של חילול שבת של האוטובוסים. We see HaKadosh Baruch Hu telling us the Shabbat is the most important thing. That will heal you. יביא לך או לך רפואה שלמה. יביא לך שלום, יביא לך מנוחה, יביא לך פרנסה, כי היא מקור הברכה. Hashem berech. Everything comes from the Shabbat. Believe me when I say, if this is the most important Shabbat to keep for you, more than anything else, this Shabbat could be the last Shabbat before Mashiach comes, before Gog Magog. You know, Gog Magog, what's Gog Magog? In Gematria 70. Gog Magog, בגימטריה זה 70. 70 העמים הולכים להילחם עכשיו. You know, if you take the nations that's going about to fight between Europe, between the Middle East, between China, Russia, America, there's 70 major nations that are about to fight. 70, it's exactly what the prophet says. Hashem, he wants to bring Mashiach not with a war. He wants to bring it, you know, Achishena Be'ita. The Zohar Kadosh says, what's Achishena or Be'ita? Or Be'ita Achishena. So Be'ita means in its own time. Achishena, I have to do it fast, but there will be consequences. There will be chaz v'chalila, amazing, amazing things. And the question is, do you want to survive? This is your last chance. Keep Shabbat, keep Shabbat, keep Shabbat. I know from all our viewers, there's a lot of them that's tzadikim, tzadkaniyot, very good people. Baruch Hashem, zahav. But Shabbat is even above anything else. You can be the most tzaddik. If you don't keep Shabbat, it doesn't matter. You can do million mitzvot, give $1 million tzedakah, help poor people, almanot, poor, do anything. If you don't keep Shabbat, nothing doesn't count. It doesn't matter. Shabbat hi mekor beracha. And of course, it says, when they build the golden calf, זה לעומת זה עשה אלוהים. The Gemara says Hashem gives power to evil and power to purity. It's the same. You know, Rabbi Yehuda Halevi, who wrote the book HaKuzari, Rabbi Yehuda Halevi was actually challenged by the king of the Kuzarim in Europe. The king of the Kuzarim ruled Europe, and they wanted to see who is really the best religion in the world for their nations. So he had Christians and Islam and Jewish argue and point who are the best, religion for them. And at the end, they chose the Jews. They all converted. Some say that's where the Ashkenaz started. Rabbi Yehuda Halevi says something beautiful. He says, in the absence of purity, impurity reside. He says, in the absence, כשאין קדושה, טומאה שולטת וממלאה את המקום. אין כזה ריק. There's no empty space. Whether you have kedusha, then the tumah will not be there. But if you don't, it will be there. He said that really, in a sense, that Hashem brought to us, he says, the Mishkan, you can start atoning for the golden calf. But the most important, et Shabbatotai tishmeru, mechaleleha mot yumat, כי כל העושה במלאכה ונחרטה הנפש ההיא מקרב עמיה. He said, חס וחלילה, that when Hashem says ונחרטה הנפש ההיא, it's both from this world and the world to come and the tree of life. Very, very important. I'm putting a lot of essence on the Shabbat, because really, כתוב, HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the Gemara says, 40 פחות 1. Hashem gave 40 minus 1 transgression of Shabbat, melachot of Shabbat not to do. Why? As we know also in Kiddush, when we say, YAKHEL Elohim bayom hashvi'i melachto asher asa. Hashem finished his work on Saturday. So the Gemara says, what do you mean Saturday? You said, sheshet yamim ta'avod b'Shabbat. You have to rest. Hashem says, yes. 39 melachot in the 6 days, they're not allowed on Shabbat. But there's one more I did on Shabbat, is melechet menucha. Lanuach b'Shabbat. Is the one thing you don't have to do, but it's part of the 40. ויקהל אלוהים לעשות ביום השבת. שביעי is the Shabbat, is really in a sense, Hashem says, don't desecrate the Shabbat. We know there is the essence of certain things, as we don't understand why we have to do, and certain things we don't have to do. When we say emunat chabalelot, what's emunat chabalelot? Even if you don't see, if it's dark, you don't understand, keep your emunah, keep your faith in Hashem through the knowledge of Hashem. דעו לפני מי אתם עומדים, דע לפני מי אתה עומד. It says that, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave Moshe the Torah in Mount Sinai in the first time, the Luchot, Moshe broke it. Because why? Moshe originally received the entire Torah in the Luchot. The Torah, the written Torah, the oral Torah, and the secret Torah, the Zohar, the Kabbalah, all in it. There was a kubiya like, שתי טפחים על שלוש טפחים. 2 times 3. 6, it was like a cube. And Hashem says here, I'm going to give you now only the written Torah. Forget the oral Torah and forget the Zohar. Moshe did not agree. He said that's why he broke the Luchot. He says, the Luchot had the neshama in it. It's heavy. The moment the neshama left, Moshe could not handle and he broke it, fell and broke. And he says one of the 10 commandments never left. Is the commandment of Shabbat. She stayed on the Luchot. That's why the broken Luchot, they keep in the ark. Pesol lecha, bring the psolet that you broke and put it in Aron HaKodesh, because the Shabbat is still there. He says he actually convinced Hashem to allow him to write in the future the oral Torah and the Zohar HaKadosh. So he says, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu, בעת ההיא אמר אדוני אלי פסול ראשונים ועלה אלי ההר ארון עץ וכתוב על הלוחות את הדברים, אשר היו על הלוחות הראשונים, אשר שיברת. Hashem was not upset with Moshe. He says, I'm giving a chance to give you another set. So they say, originally, you're not allowed to write the Torah, the oral Torah. Hashem revealed to Moshe problems will come to the world big time. It says that when Moshe Rabbeinu went to the heavens, when he went to Mount Sinai, he asked Hashem, please allow me to, in the future, to write the oral Torah, because what's going to happen with the atrocity around the world, the people of Israel will stop learning Torah. And Hashem allowed him. It's 3 people Hashem allowed to write the oral Torah, and then 1 more to write the Zohar, the Kabbalah. It says, when Moshe Rabbeinu broke the Luchot, Shichecha yarda la'olam. When Moshe Rabbeinu broke the Luchot, that's it, people forgot. Before that, whatever Moshe said, they remember. They didn't have to repeat, not even 1 time. The moment he broke the Luchot, the forgetfulness came to the world, that we have to do repetition every day to learn. And we forget, I've been teaching now, Baruch Hashem, for 10 years. Every year, I forget what I taught last year. And I have to prepare again and do it again. Why? Is the broken of the Luchot. It says, the Gemara, Shlosha kadvu et HaTorah shebe'al peh. It says 3 of them wrote the Torah, of the oral Torah. And as we know, Rabbi Yehuda Anasi gathered, all the Mishnayot. The Tanaim wrote the Mishnayot. 4,192 Mishnayot. Rabbi Yehuda Anasi saw that was happening, and he wrote the Talmud, the Gemara. He put the Mishnayot in, and of course, all the discussion of our sages, the Amoraim, there was 63 Masachtot, right? We have 60 original plus the would reveal to us that actually, if the of the Tanaim, because Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was a Tana, there'll be 700 krachim, or there'll be minimum 700 masachtot. Rabbi Yehuda condensed them to a form that we can really learn. And it says, Rabbi Ashi katav et Talmud Habavli. So now there was another Talmud, the Talmud Yerushalmi, that was written in Israel. Rabbi Yochanan Nafcha and Rabbi Ben Maria katvu et Talmud HaYerushalmi. They wrote the Yerushalayim Talmud. By the way, the Yerushalmi is a lot holier than the Bavli, because it was written in the land of Israel. And then we know in Tehillim, it says, Moshe Rabbeinu lamarom alita velakachta shevi ba'adam. It says in the book of Tehillim that Moshe went to the heavens and he took a hostage. Shevi is Shimon Bar Yochai. He took him to guarantee the written Zohar, the Kabbalah. Because, it says Moshe kibel Torah Sinai, umesara leYoshua v'Yeshua l'zkenim. It says Moshe received also the Kabbalah, kibel the Kabbalah. He received the Torah and the Mesorah, which is the oral Torah, and all of them he received there. And then he guaranteed to bring it back to the people of Israel, even when he passes. Hence, we have today, Baruch Hashem, we have all these books that you see here and the Gemarot and everything. There's nothing. There's billions and billions and billions of amazing Divrei Torah in order for us to sustain the people of Israel and the world. And we know here that after all said and done, there was a story I heard beautiful of the Khatam Sofer. The Khatam Sofer, Rabbi Moshe Schreiber, he actually lived in the late 1700s. And he was born in Germany, and he moved to Hungary. And that's when the whole, by the way, Moshe Mendelssohn and all his friends, Yimach Shmam V'Shem Zichram, they actually pretended to be religious rabbis. And they started the Tnuat HaSkala. They started the Enlightenment movement, the emancipation, the reform group, everything. They started to take the yeshivot boys and put them into colleges and universities and make them live the Torah. That started in the late 1700s. And the Khatam Sofer was so against it, he was like one of the biggest rabbis of Europe. And he actually got himself into trouble. He was arrested. and they wanted to actually kill him. But before that, they said to him, we want you to teach this Goy Torah. One of the Mefagdim, one of the Moshlim, one of the governors of a city in Hungary says to him, listen, I want you to teach this guy Torah. He's a Goy, but teach him everything you know. And if not, we'll kill you and your family. And of course, the Khatam Sofer had no choice. He was teaching him, and he kept praying to Hashem. Says, why? Why do you do this to me, Hashem? What do I need to teach a Goy? Why? He taught him anyway. He did what he did. Years later, he was arrested again, and they wanted to kill him, and they brought him to trial. And they brought him to this trial, and of course, the prosecutor says, he's doing against this and that. He needs to be put to death. And the judge said to everybody, okay, I want you to leave. Let me think about it. And he goes to the Khatam Sofer. He says to him, remember me? And the Khatam Sofer says, no. He says, remember, you taught me Torah a few years back. Because of what you taught me, I became the judge of this whole area. And I'm going to release you because you gave me such knowledge and power that because of you, I'm so important now. And I was just a simple guy, and you taught me Torah. The Khatam Sofer understood how Hashem works. He says, sometimes we don't understand. We have challenges. You say, why? The question should not be why. When the three boys, the yeshiva boys, 7 years ago, was kidnapped and murdered right before the Gaza thing that brought to it. One of the mothers said something amazing in the Hesped, the mother of the three boys, one of them said, and she gave us such power, Hashem yivarech ota. She said, don't ask why, al tagid lama, tish'al lema. She says, don't ask why, ask what for. Why that Hashem does it to me is not why, is what for. Change the vowels. Instead of kamatz, put shva. He says, just let's learn from what Hashem is doing to us that we have to change. Not lama, lema. And she understood something. She said, our children, our boys kidnapped. Because of them, we found out all the tunnels. We never knew about the tunnels in Gaza. Nobody, even the military, did not know. The intelligence did not know. They could have come and killed thousands of us in one day. The three boys, Yara Dodi Legano. Hashem took the best of flowers to help the entire people of Israel. She says lema, not lama. The Khatam Sofer understood that. He did not understand that there. This mother of the three tzaddikim that died, she said, don't ask lama, ask lema. What for? The challenges we have in our life, Hashem doesn't want chaz v'chalila to hurt us. He gave us a chance. Ki kol yom tisa, elevate yourself, kol yom. When they build the Mishkan, Hashem says, I'm going to give you two kids, three leaders, Moshe and two kids, Betzalel and Aholihav. Betzalel was 13 years old, Aholihav was 13 years old. He says, Re'u, look at this. Moshe Rabbeinu says to the people of Israel, look at the children. They will build the house of Hashem. The people of Israel says, what do you mean children? You taught us that Hashem talked to you in Mount Sinai and showed you everything, all the YouTube and the schematics and the clouds of glory, iCloud, right? Everything you want to see. Ve'asita et zeh, ve'asita Aaron, ve'asita shulchan, have those two kids. Ruach Kodesh I will put in them. I'll give those kids. The two kids is really two children at the of Miriam, right? Miriam and Kalev ben Yefune, their father Hur, Asa Kiddush Hashem. His son, which is the Nin, the grandson of Miriam, is from the king of Yehuda, right? It says that he and a son of the tribe of Dan. Dan was really Nachshon ben Aminadav because he was the first one to go in the water. From the lowest to the highest, it says that, Dan is really, because she was, his mother was the servant, right? Bilha and Zilpa were servant, and Dan came from her. And it says the lowest tribe and the highest tribe can work together. It doesn't matter. You think you could be Yehuda, or even if you're Dan, you're equal to me. If you have a will and a wish, I will put Ruach HaKodesh in you. And of course, the two children, Moshe challenged them. And he says, let's build the vessels first. And Bezalel says, I'm sorry. Hashem told me that you have to build the Mishkan first. You cannot build, everything you want to put in a house before the house. You build the house first, then you put them in. Moshe was challenging Bezalel and Oliav to see if they really have Ruach HaKodesh. Because what he saw is so tremendous. He understood that he was the only one saw it. Hashem says, no, I can show anybody. All of you can be like Moshe. All of you can be like Bezalel, right? Aholi Hav, Ohalei Av, right? He says, it's with Hashem's tent. He says, I'll give them the ability. They were the project manager to create exactly what Moshe saw in Mount Sinai. The Mishkan has many parts to it. Many, many things. All of the kelim, the Gemara says in Masechet Chagiga, Kav Zayin, is the last page of Masechet Chagiga. It says, the Tracket of Celebration, 27, page 27, it says, Kol HaKelim Kulam, all the vessels that will be in the Mishkan will have duplicates. There will be 2 sets at least. Why? Because if it become Tameh, you have to continue. You cannot stop. Except 2 things. The altar Nechoshet, it says the altar of Mizbeach HaNechoshet veMizbeach HaZahav, the altar of the copper and the altar of the gold. Why? Because they're touched to the ground. It says when they're touched to the ground, they don't receive tum'ah, only the vessels do. And when HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he said that when I want you to be, all of you together, it's called the word tzibur. Tzibur in Hebrew means everybody. Tzibur is an acronym, Tzadik, Benoni, Verasha. In the tzibur, we have everything. Hashem accepts us all. He says, listen, Banim atem laHashem Elokechem, you're all my children. Lo titgodedu ve'lo titnu korcha benechem. Don't make groups, Ashkenaz, Sephardi, Moroccan, Persian. But it's stupidity. You're all the children of Hashem. The problem we have, our sages said to us, is not because anybody but us. Everything that's happened in the world, the chaos is because of us. Why? Because we don't get along. We, the children of Israel, group ourselves. We shouldn't do that. Kol puranut sheba la'olam. It says everything bad happened in the world is to wake up the people of Israel to tshuva. Nothing else. Nothing else. It says you are the tzibur, tzaddik benoni verasha. I accept you all. Ahavat chinam, as we know, is the opposite of sinat chinam. And when we say ahava gematria is also 13. Right? Ahava en echad is 26. 13 plus 13 is yud hei vav hei. Kabed. When we say kabed et avicha ve'et imecha, the 5th kabed, it's the 5th divarot. We have the 10 commandments. The 5th commandment is kabed et avicha, respect your parents and mother and father, right? But it comes after the Shabbat, right? The 4th commandment is the Shabbat, right? It says, Zachor et Yom HaShabbat lekodsho. Why the Shabbat came before the parents? Because you have the first 3 is Hashem. You have Anochi Hashem, Lo Yeh, Lo Tisa. Those are all HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Then you should have mankind, because mankind is the highest level. Hashem says, no. Higher than that is the Shabbat. Meaning that if your parent says to you, listen, let's go to the beach on Shabbat, let's do barbecue on Shabbat, let's go desecrate Shabbat, you're allowed to say no. You must say no. Only then, kabed et avicha. Kabed is Gematria 26. When you respect all above, you respect everything. Shabbat is against everything. It says kabed et. What's et? It should say kabed avicha ve'imecha. Why et avicha? Et Elohim and Torah. Respect Hashem and the Torah. All the mitzvot that I gave you. those came before your mother and father. Meaning, we have to respect our parents, even if they yell at us, whatever, insult us. Rabbi Yochanan, his mother used to insult him in front of everybody. He never ever spoke. He had such kavod that they say, we never seen such thing. And he was a big, one of the Tanaim. He says, when you respect et, avicha v'imecha, avicha is Hashem, imecha is the Shabbat, which is part of the Torah. In essence, Hashem says, listen, leman yarichun yamecha, you want to have long life, respect the Shabbat first. Et, Elohim and Torah. Everything that Hashem gave us, everything that we are, everything that you see in the world is in the Torah. There is the first midrashim that we ever learned, and the first midrash in the world, really, Midrash Rabbah. Midrash Rabbah, the opening of Midrash Rabbah says that first thing, Hashem looked at the Torah and built the world. It was the blueprint of the whole world. Everything that we see is from the Torah. And everything that we'll see at the end is only from the Torah. Everything else, Hevel Avalim. Hevel Avalim. Something beautiful. Shlomo HaMelech says, Hevel Havalim. In the book of Kohelet, YAKHEL. The three YAKHEL in the Torah. We have YAKHEL, the Erev Rav, YAKHEL al Aharon. They wanted to kill Aharon. They killed already Hur in the 70s. Moshe does the tikkun, YAKHEL, is gathering them to do mitzvah. Shlomo HaMelech, YAKHEL, he actually was punished because his wives did avodah zarah in Israel. He married too many women, 1,000 wives he had, 700 wives and 300 pilagshim, concubine. Pileges yesh peleg, they made avodah zarah. He was kicked out of kingship for 3 months and he was walking back and writing the book of Kohelet. YAKHEL, he says Hevel Havalim. What's Hevel Havalim? Hevel is the words that we say. We have to say our words correct. We have to, everything that we have the ability to speak is the godly ability. And everything that's in the Torah is what Hashem gave us to learn and to say and to teach. In the book of Ayov, it says, Adam la'amal yulad. What's la'amal? Shlomo HaMelech says, Lilmod al menat lelamed. We are born to learn in order to teach. Everything else will be fine. Guaranteed. Ani lachem lachem v'atem tacharishun. I will do your war and you plow in the Torah. Tacharishun, the Torah is like a field, right? You have lines, you have spaces, everything is in the way that Hashem says, don't worry, you just stick to the Torah and all the mitzvot. I will do your wars. I will guarantee you success always. There is Tzidkiyahu had 180 soldiers, 1,000 came to kill him in Yerushalayim. That was really Sancheriv. And Tzidkiyahu says to Hashem, what do I know? I'm just a rabbi, a Kohen here in Yerushalayim. I have no weapons, no soldiers. I leave it to you. I'm going to sleep. And he went to sleep. In the morning, he came, all 180,000 died. Sancheriv escaped. Later on, he will be killed by his people. Sancheriv was the grandfather of Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar came to destroy Israel, the Babylonian. Even he gone, was the king of the world. Ahasuerus used to work for him. Haman used to be the slave of Mordechai. In a sense, no matter what mighty and big, and they're all gone. I will finish with one more thing. It says, we sinned with the egel, and we sinned with zahav, right? We did the golden calf. The first sin was used for zahav. So we know zahav is a tikkun of zahav. The fix of zahav is to do zahav, meaning Hashem says, okay, you did the gold and the sin. You can atone for it by the days of reading Torah of zahav. Zayin is Shabbat, right? 7th. Hey is Thursday, Chamishi, and Bet is Sheni, Torah. In Thursday, Monday, we read on the days of Zahav, we read the Torah, and from that we learn how to behave every week. Every parasha that happened in the Torah is happening in our life. And it says, in order to do tikkun to the egel, which is arayot, gezel, and lashon hara, we have to do the tikkun of egel, avodat Hashem, work for Hashem, gimel, gemilut chasadim, lamed, limud Torah. In essence, we can do a fix for anything, all through the Torah. It's very, very important. It says that when we brought these items, right, we said techelet, argaman, tolat, hashani. It said that techelet is tachlit chayecha, is the essence of your life. Taf in the beginning, taf at the end, and in the middle you have chaf lamed. All your life should be in Torah, beginning to end. Argaman, it says, yes, you have Adom, which is Argaman, is the red color, is really Yetzer Hara in you. That's how the gold was made, right? First you have to burn the gold to bring it to redness. And it says, Tolat is the worm. Remember, where are you going? You're going to the grave. Who's going to eat you? The worm. Remember, V'hashani, it says, Hashani is to learn, right? Mishnah, what's Mishnah? Shani is to learn, to repeat, like the word Mishnah is neshama, is shmone, is neshima. They're all tied up together. They said learn every day what you can do better for the next day in order to have chaya olam haba. It says everything that has to do with the building of the Mishkan is really, Hashem says, you don't really need a Mishkan. I want you to, v'shachanti, as you say, v'asu li migdash v'shachanti betocham. Hashem says, I want to reside within you. Yes, the Mishkan and Migdash is beautiful, but it's not the essence. The essence is you. I made you, Hashem says. You know, the people of Israel don't remember. Many of us, unfortunately, don't even know the Torah. In Israel today, 80% have no regards to Torah. Yaakov Avinu said, Asera asrenu lach. I will give you 20%. Guaranteed they'll be the people of Israel. In Israel and all over the world, we have 20% religious. That's it. Hashem says the Torah, if you look at it, what's the first word of the Torah? Is Bereshit. What's the last word? Israel. No matter what, at the end, there'll be only Hashem Echad U'Shmo Echad. Everybody will work Israel. That's why the Goyim go so crazy, because they understand the end is coming now. Yetzer Hara, the highest level all over the world, in all government, this corona, batich, it's really all lies. Today, if people are understanding what's trying to do what the evil force of the world to dilute, to kill, Israel will use to really be as their own. Pfizer CEO said it's the lab and the guinea pig of the world. Why? Why Israel be the first one to try? If they're so important, Pfizer should do it in America. Why Israel had to be the first one? It's really from Hashem. Hashem says, you count on them. I already told you, Bereshit, Israel. It's all for you. And if you want the Goyim to control you, as we say in Hebrew, tfaddal. Hashem does not want anybody else but the Jewish people. Yes, there'll be other nations. Ashrei hagoy she'Adonai Elohav. There'll be good, righteous people of the world, non-Jewish. But at the end, ve'alu moshihim be'ar Tzion lishpot et har Esav. At the end, Hashem judge all the people of Esav, Edom, Islam, all of those. What's Islam? Samael, right? Samech Mem. Edom is Edomites, Christianity. All their flags has red in it except 3 countries. So in a sense, you have to understand and you have to make tshuva because you know time is running out. And Be'ezat Hashem, the third and final Bet HaMikdash will come, built ready from the heavens. We don't have to even build it. Yerushalayim ke'ir shechubra la yachdav, be a city that will put together from the heaven and earth. And that's it. So Be'ezat Hashem, I want to finish here. I want to say thank you so much to all of you Yoram, Dahan, Yad HaTalmid, a rabbi here in Kolel Baruch Avat Israel in San Diego. Again, רפואה שלמה to everybody. רויטל בת רחל, בעזרת השם, רפואה שלמה, לא לדאוג, just keep Shabbat, everything will be good. And to Baruch Chai ben Chaya Miriam, Zehavit Batova, בעזרת השם, קרן בת עליזה, and בת שבע בת עזיזה, ענת בת רחל, אורי אור בן ענת, פנחס בן רחל, בעזרת השם לכולכם, to all of you, please share the class with everybody, and on our website at org, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and send it to everybody so we have more spreading of Torah, בעזרת השם. Thank you so much. פעמיים כי טוב today, יום שלישי, we don't care about the anything, and the Shabbat, and בעזרת השם, we'll see you again soon. Thank you so much. שבוע טוב.